Hi, Srivatsan.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Do you have any doubts regarding last class or anything in general?
Sir, in school they started probability, sir, like class 12 probability,
Okay,
and
bring it on.
there,
Uh,
see, what happens is that that's like one of the chapters that I don't get, sir. Like 11th is fine, but 12th has this exclusive events and all that. Uh,
Okay.
that conditional probability, all of that, and some theorem and all happens, no, sir. So
So
what
it's called
happens is
base.
my school people, my classmates, they answer everything, and ma'am is like, okay, you all know, and then they just skip. No, now we're in miscellaneous. From first exercise to we went to miscellaneous, and I don't know what's happening. So
Okay,
when
so
you take
basically,
probability,
probability is carrying you a bit, right?
yeah,
That's
a
what's
little.
happening. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it.
Look, don't look at it as 11th and 12th probability. Look at it as a chapter probability. The first half you did it in 11th. The second half you did it in 12th. Without the first half, there is no second half. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So your doubt was around mutually exclusive events, huh?
No, sir. The conditional probability, from conditional to all those theorems to like whatever is in 12.
There's one theorem you need to learn. One theorem. It's called Bayes theorem. All right.
Okay, sir.
So I'll give you one simple example. One second.
Yes.
I didn't share the screen. Huh? One second. One second.
You-
Yeah. Yeah. So how do I give one quick class? Wait, I'll just try this. Okay. We'll do one problem.
Yes,
Hmm.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll see how that works. So this is supposed to be probability, and we'll be focusing on Bayes theorem. All right.
Okay.
This is the most unintuitive theorem there is. Okay, it's not a direct theorem. It's not like this is this, so definitely this should be this. It's not like that. It's not, it's actually against our intuition. So it just proves that our intuition is not great. That's all. All right. All right. So how this works is probability of A happening, given that B happened, will be probability of A and B happening at the same time, in probability of B already happened. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So this is conditional probability here. Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like I'll give you a question. Hmm. The question is, suppose there's a disease. Okay. Suppose you went to a doctor. Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you go to a doctor. You wake up one morning. You feel a little sick. You just go to a doctor, and then you ask him, "I don't know what is happening. I just feel a little sick. So can you run some tests hmm, to figure out
Yes, sir.
what it is?" All right. So he runs a series of random tests, and then he tells you you've been identified positive with something. All right. With a life-threatening disease, something. All right. You've
Yes, sir.
been tested positive for the disease. Okay. Now the doctor tells you that there is a 99%. Look, the machine there, the testing machine is 99% accurate. Hmm?
Okay, sir.
All right. So 99%. So what he means is 99%. It's a it's identified correctly. Hmm? There's 1% chance that you're positive and you're identified wrongly. So basically, this is a false positive. It's a 1% chance. Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, 99% it's identified correctly. Okay. And then false negative. Uh, but I don't think I'm wording the question properly. Wrongly. So okay. Now, what is the probability you have the disease? You've been tested probable. Probability that you have the disease, given that you tested positive. What will be the probability there? Okay,
Uh,
so we know that this is a rare disease. Okay, so this is required. Yeah, yeah. So we know that this is a rare disease that affects 0.1% of the population. Okay, all right.
okay, sir.
Okay, so now how do we find this? Now, Bayes theorem is a little different here. Okay. So Bayes theorem is like probability of B given A. Suppose A has already happened. You have to find the probability of B.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For that, what you normally do is probability of A intersection B divided by probability of A. Right.
Yes, sir.
But then this probability of A intersection B, I'll simply take from this end here, this formula here. Okay. Probability of A intersection B will be what?
Probability
P
of
of
A given B
A given B
into
into
probability.
probability of B. Okay. So this is Bayes theorem. All right. Just a modified version of conditional probability.
So,
Okay. It's just that much. But then it's not intuitive. Okay. It's not a direct, like simple formula or something. The idea is you're looking for P of B given A, but you have P of A given B. All right.
okay,
So
sir.
in this case, you're asked, what is the probability you have the disease given you've been tested positive? That's what you're looking for. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But then what do you have here? Given you have the disease, what's the probability you tested positive? That you have. Okay. You want to find the ulta version, the other side of it. Okay.
Oh,
So, so this is something we have. So using this, we need to find this thing here that we don't have. Probability that you have the disease given you tested positive. So for this, what you do is multiply by probability you have the disease, divide by probability of testing positive in the first place. Okay,
yes,
got
sir.
this?
Okay, sir.
So probability of testing positive would be 0.1 divided by 100.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, probability you have the disease is 0.1 divided by 100. I'm so sorry.
So that is
Wait,
point
yeah, tell me.
99, yes, sir. 99 by 100.
0.1 divided by 100. Probability you tested positive given you have the disease is 99%.
Ah, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Probability of being testing positive will probability of testing positive. Okay, probability of testing positive. I'll need to explain something called total probability theorem. The theorem that is taught to you just before that. Okay, total probability theorem says that probability of testing positive. Okay, so imagine this event is that you tested positive. There are
Okay.
two ways you can test this positive. Test as positive. One, you have the disease. Other is you don't have the disease. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what's the probability you have the disease? That's 0.1% of the entire population. Okay. So I will write that as 0.1% of the entire population. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that will become 0.1 by 100. Okay. Then what's the probability you don't have the disease?
1%. No, 99.9.
1 minus 0.1 by 100. That's it. Okay. The rest of it. All right.
Yes.
Then the idea is you've tested positive given you have the disease. Okay. This is the idea. Probability that you tested positive given you have the disease. Probability you tested positive given you don't have the disease. This is how we find total probability. Okay. So the event is how many ways can we get as tested positive? Okay. We want to find the denominator here, right?
Yes, sir.
Probability that you tested positive. We're looking for this. Okay. So it comes from two ways. One, you have the disease and you tested positive, or you don't have the disease and you tested positive. You don't have the disease tested positive. We need more data. I should have given more data in the questions. Right.
Yes, sir.
So I have to make some data up for this and then include this data also. Okay. So what I do is to find total probability, what is the probability you will test it positive given you have the disease? That is 99%.
Yes, sir.
Am I confusing you,
No, sir.
Srivatsan?
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir.
So
Written.
probability you tested positive given you don't have the disease will be a very low chance. Okay. So let's assume it's given in the question as 1%. Okay. All right.
Yes,
So
sir.
now our probability that you will test positive itself comes from two sources. One, you have the disease. Other is you don't have the disease. The first one comes when you multiply these two. Okay. So what I did here is probability of testing positive given you have the disease into probability you have the disease. Okay, Siddharth, if you're watching, all right, we are explaining some concepts of probability. Okay, that's being discussed in COS in school, right? Okay. So,
Okay, sir.
so uh, probability that you test positive can come from another event. What is it? That you tested positive given you don't have the disease. Okay, given you don't have the disease into probability of not having the disease. You know where this product term came from, Yosin?
And no, sir.
Okay, this is nothing but okay. Look at look at the conditional probability. Probability of A given B is equal to probability of A intersection B divided by probability of B, right? What happens if you multiply both of them?
Oh, okay, sir. Yeah, yes, yes.
This is nothing but probability that you're positive and you have the disease, plus
Yeah.
probability that you're positive given and you don't have the disease. That's what you're basically adding up here. Okay. Hmm.
Oh,
So
yes,
this
yes.
is total probability there. This is what I should have told you first, before getting into that question. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So these are the basic units here, all right? So now what I do is I find the value here. I have all these four values, right? I just plug them in. Okay. And I get P of positive. And then I put that into this to get the probability that I have the disease given that I tested positive. All right. What is the information I already have? I tested positive given that I have the disease. Okay. My
Yes, sir.
question to myself was, what is the probability I have the disease given I tested positive? The other way around. To solve these things, you'll use Bayes theorem. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hmm? Like we'll use a better example, but I hope this is basic enough for you
Yes, sir.
to
Yes,
start
yes,
learning probability properly. Hmm. Did you get the idea here?
yes, sir. I've written.
Okay, so here you get 0.099 divided by 100. So divided by 100 means 0.00099 and divided by P positive. Okay, P positive that you have the disease. What is it? Probability that you will test positive given you have the disease. That's 99%. It was given in the question. What's the probability you'll have the disease? 0.1% of the people get affected by this. So the rest of them, 99.9%, will not be affected. Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Those who are probability you have the disease is 0.001. Give me a second. Yes. Can you come to the question? What will be open this for us? All right. So let's continue the calculation. P of positive given you don't have the disease. What's the probability of that? So we assumed that was 0.01. 1% chance that you'll test positive given that you don't have the disease. Basically, false positive. Srivajan, are you following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay. Into probability that you don't have the disease. Okay. Probability that you don't have the disease will be 0.999 divided by, okay, this is the P positive here. The probability that you will test positive. So that will come out to 0.00
Zero
099 plus
999.
0.00999. You add these up, what do you get? So here 999 is what you're adding basically. It becomes 89010. Is the zero not forming? Okay. So basically, what's the probability that you'll test positive in general? 0.01098. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you plug that value into this. 0.01098. You take care of this. So what was the expected value? Like you tested positive for the disease. What is your expected value that you actually have the disease? That is what we are trying to find here. Okay.
Yes.
Multiply by 100 here. This becomes 1.018. Multiply by 100 here. This becomes 0.099. Okay. So this comes out to roughly 9%. So you are expecting yourself to have the disease 99% first when I ask you the question. Right?
Yes, sir.
So it's actually 9%. That was what I'm saying. This is against intuition fully. All right. So it's actually a very interesting topic, Bayes theorem. Please learn about it and you can apply this in real life. One thing. Okay. So how many of us are here right now? Okay, everybody's in the class. Shall we start functions? Good morning, guys. Shall we start functions?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
All right. So just now we were discussing some probability. Yeah, Bayes theorem. Be there in the recording anyway. So yeah, let's start functions, shall we? Okay, so last we taught was period of a function. Did you guys note all this down? People,
Yes, sir.
you note all this down last class? Okay. So, oh yeah, we'll do some basic problems with this. Cos power 4x. What's the period? Anyway, you're starting the class. P is equal to what?
Pi.
P is, yeah. Cos power 4x will be pi. Good. Cos raised to even power. This is, so it will be pi. Cos will be that sinusoidal wave. Okay, it'll go, keep on going like this. When you're saying cos square, what will happen is these negative parts will go to the corresponding positive. So you can see the period was this long initially. Okay, now it's only half of that. Following? Okay, so you can say 2t for cos x becomes, 2 pi becomes pi when cos x is raised to 4 or any even quantity. Right? Now, what about sine cube x? What's the t for that?
2 pi.
2 pi. Sine raised to odd power. Okay, the negative will remain negative, so that length is still the same. Okay, it's 2 pi. What about cos raised to root x?
Pi.
Okay, so remember, what is cos x? For that, it will be 2 pi. Am I right? For cos x, you'll get 2 pi, right? I just say you're right. No. Show me you're awake.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. Guys, go wash your face and come back. I need a more active participating audience. There are only few of you. All of you can get individual attention if you ask for it. All right. Please use this opportunity, Do you want a minute? Quickly go and come back. Quickly go wash your face and come back. I need you all to be fresh and active. Right. Let me know once you're ready. Quickly. We have to do a few questions today. Okay, we've covered a lot of theory in the previous classes, but the point is doing questions. That's where you learn most. Tell me when you're ready, we'll start. Okay. Guys, are we good? Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's start. Okay. So here I am asking you cos of root x. What's the period of that? All right. Now the thing is, what is the condition for a function to be periodic? F of x plus t should be equal to f of x for any value of x. Okay, for all x in the domain of f. All right. F of x plus t for all x plus t domain of f. So the smallest value of t that you get will be the period of the function. Okay. So here what I'm asking is cos of root of x plus t equal to cos of root x for all x. Is there any value of t like that? The video is not stuck. You can understand because my fan is moving. But one response at least. Guys, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Siddharth, say hi.
Yes, sir. Nice.
Rahul,
Hi, sir.
why are you keeping quiet, man? Why do you do this? Guys, my
Sir,
mic on.
is
Yeah, tell me.
it still pi? Because the power of cos is 1.
Power of cos is 1. Is it still pi? Look, cos x will have a period of 2 pi. Okay, don't forget. So power of cos is 1. So it should be 2 pi only, right? Why are you saying pi?
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. First of all, take that attitude out, okay? Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you should be sorry. All right, you make a mistake to learn, to find out what is correct. That should be the attitude in general, okay? Don't be sorry for all this. Now, we have cos of root x plus t. I have a tendency to say sorry because it's a habit, all right? Not because I'm actually sorry. All right, if I make a mistake, I'll say sorry because it's just a habit. And I'm actually not sorry. Okay, so we have cos of root of x plus t. Now, whatever value I put here, I will not get cos of root of x. Okay, because this angle will not be the same. Like I can't say root of 4 pi. I can, if x plus t was 4 pi and x was 2 pi, this would have been valid, no? Cos 4 pi equal to cos 2 pi. But this is cos root of 4 pi, cos root of 2 pi. Okay, no way this is going to work. All right, this is basically not even periodic. Okay, this is aperiodic. Are you guys getting this? Cos x, sorry, cos of root x will be aperiodic, non-periodic, whatever. Right? It's all the same. All right. So t, what can you say about the period here? Does not exist. Are you guys getting this?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts here? Any doubts here? Please unmute yourself, all of you. Please unmute
Sir.
yourselves.
Sir, is it because under the root it cannot have a negative value?
Under the root cannot have a negative value. That is there. That is there. You can't go towards the other side. Yes. Not just that root of x itself cannot be periodic. Okay.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
Like
sir.
root of x plus t. Suppose t was 2 pi. You're talking about, you should see this happen. Sorry, not x, not t, it should be x. Right. So cos of root x plus t equal to cos of root x. Right. So here when is this satisfied? For all x. Once in a while, it can be satisfied. Okay. You can find a root x plus t equal to 2 pi plus root x. If you find something like that, you can find a t like that, then you're sorted. But will this be valid for all values of x? No. Okay. Only then does it become a time period. Okay. So without
Yes.
this, we can't find a period. Yeah. Ask.
No, sir. That's it.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Guys, unmute yourselves, please. I'm asking each of you to unmute. And Rahul, you too. Why are you so shy, Rahul? I'm going to talk to you the most today. Rahul, you'll have to
Yes,
respond.
sir. Okay, sir.
Huh? Wake up, wash your face. I know you're lying down and watching this video.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, you're writing notes, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, let's start. Now, what about root of cos x? Is this periodic? Guys, all of you, root of cos x, is this periodic? Or the question will be, what is the period of root of cos x?
No, sir. Say period.
Won't be periodic. All right. Okay, just look at the graph of root cos x also. That's good enough. Right? We'll just keep changing. Now, this is aperiodic, so t does not exist. And I need, oh yeah, let's do some properties. Sin x has a period of 2 pi, right? Agreed? All of you.
Yes, sir.
So let's assume parallelly an f of x with a period of t. Okay. Now, if I multiply that with c or a constant k sin x, what is the period it'll have? Sin x goes like this. K into sin x is basically scaling. It can go either much beyond it or it can go like under it. You're just stretching it upward or downward that way. Okay, when you multiply by k into sin x, k into that function. So what is the period here? K into sin x?
Still 2 pi.
It's still 2 pi. Exactly. All right. Now, k into f of x. What is the period it should have? You understand. Whatever graph, periodic graph f of x is, will be stretched vertically. Okay. So this will also remain as t. Got it, guys?
Yes,
Got this much?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the first property for period. Second property. What do we do? F of sin of x plus some constancy. Okay. What about the period of this? Sin of x plus some constant c. What happens here? Try
Sir,
something.
is it
Guess.
2 pi plus c?
2 pi plus c. Okay. So Shriyani, what I want you to do is try to understand the graph, how the graph changes. Okay. So first you remember sin x graph. Okay, that's basic. Now sin x plus c. What happens to the graph here? Tell me now.
It gets shifted
It
towards
gets shifted to the left or the right. That's all. Okay, understood? Left or right, it doesn't matter. But the graph simply gets some horizontal translation. Did you get this?
Yes, sir.
All of you got this? So it's the same graph. Okay, nothing has changed. Just that it's shifted this way and that way. Does the period change? I just told you the answer right now. Does the period change here?
No, sir.
No. It's still 2 pi. So remember, f of x plus c, whenever you see f of x plus c, try to remember f of x graph. If that is periodic, then only f of x plus c can be periodic. Okay, because f of x plus c is that same graph shifted horizontally. Okay, so this will also have the period as t. Let's move to the next property, which is f of, okay, what about sin of x plus 3? What about this one? What is the period it will have? Sin of x plus 3. Why? Why do you say that?
Just shifts t units up, sir.
Exactly. Yes. If you add a constant to a function f, which is already periodic, you're taking that graph and translating it vertically, either upper or niche. Okay. From here, you will get the time period as t. Got it, guys?
Yes.
Like basically, you have sin x graph, which is going like this. Okay. When I add 3 to it, basically the graph will simply move on top. Okay. You're just taking it upwards. Okay. By 3 units. Does the periodicity change? Does the period change? No, it doesn't. Okay. It just remains as t here. So I hope you've noted these points down. All right. Now, oh yeah, we have important property here. Suppose you have sine 2x. What happens here? Sine 2x. You know, sine x has a period 2 pi. What about sine 2x? So that, guys, draw the graph properly. Let's find this out. Okay. Sine x goes between 1. This is pi. This is 2 pi. 3 pi. 4 pi. And so on. Okay, this is sine x graph. What about sine 2x graph? We'll draw it
In
on
the
this only.
place of pi, 2 pi, it will become pi by 2, pi,
Pi by 2 and
P.
I guess.
3 pi by
Right.
2.
So
So the period will get half.
period will get half. Okay. So the idea is, just remember this. When I put x equal to pi by 2, in the first case, I will get 1 here, right? Okay. When I put x equal to pi by 2 here, I'll get 1. So, but then for me to get 1 here, what is the value of x I should put? Like
Pi by
near
4.
pi by 2. I have to
Pi
put
by
pi by 4, right? Okay. So then it becomes 2x. Then it becomes sine of 2 into pi by 4. All right, which becomes sine pi by 2, which is further 1. So one value is hit at pi by 4 itself, not at pi by 2. By the time it reaches pi by 2, it acts like how this white line, as in this white graph, will perform when it is at pi. Okay. Put x equal to pi by 2. What happens? You get sine pi, which is 0. Sine, when you put x equal to 0, you're starting from 0 only. Okay. So the graph will go like this. Right. When you put x equal to pi, what happens? You will reach the graph, whatever it hit at 2 pi. So you can see the white graph here. It moved from 0 to 2 pi like this, right? That movement, entire movement will be covered from 0 to pi itself. Getting it, guys? For sine 2x.
Yes.
All right. So basically, the graph will be something like this. Okay. The period has actually changed here. Okay. How did it change? It became 2 pi divided by 2. This value here is what you divided by. Okay. Remember, period is always a positive value. Okay. The period, for it to be defined, should be a positive value. Okay. So here, whatever you have here, 2x will be divided by 2. That's all. What about sine of minus 2x? What is the period?
Minus pi.
You had 2 pi, you divided by minus 2, you will get minus pi. But remember, period will be greater than 0. So will it be periodic?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Nice. Okay. So I was purposely trying to confuse you. Okay. So when I say sine of minus 2x, what will happen is this orange graph you see here, right? The orange
Yes, sir.
graph will be flipped over to this side. Okay. Like you have the orange graph here. This is sine 2x. Minus sine 2x is basically the negative of that, right? Okay. This is sine 2x. Minus sine 2x will be the exact negative of it. Got it? So will it be periodic? Minus sine 2x or sine of minus 2x? Is it periodic? Yes, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't matter if it's wrong. Is it periodic? Yes. Rahul, you're right. It is periodic. Good. Okay. All right, it is periodic. It remains periodic. This sign here should not confuse you. Okay, this sign means the shape of the graph just goes upside down. That's all. Okay, flips over to the other axis. But the periodicity, does that change? Periodicity, look at it as the degree of repetitiveness. How much is keeping on repeating again and again? Okay, what is the basic value of t that goes on repeating this way and that way? All right, does that change
No, sir.
because of the minus? No, it just shifts like this. So think like that, okay? So I can say that, so this is the next property, the fourth one. If I have f of x with period t, then f of k into x will have a period which is t divided by modulus of k. It doesn't matter what the sign of k is. Okay, got this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sanjana has joined the class. Hi, Sanjana. I'm asking you to unmute yourself. All right, everybody's unmuted. So please unmute. Okay, thank you. Now, yeah, any doubts, guys? Any doubts, guys? Do you have any doubts?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
I don't want you to pressing mute button to ask it out. That's too much of an effort. You'll have to think. I have to press mute and then ask out. So just ask out. Keep yourself unmuted. Now, we need some. No, we don't need a question yet. We'll do one more property. So you have a bunch of functions with you, right? Okay. So wait, tell me this. If f of x has period t, what does this function have? What is the period of this function? Can you tell me that? If f of x has a period of t, m is a constant, k is a constant, and c is a constant. How much will m into f of kx plus c have? What will the periodicity be for this?
MT.
It will be
T.
T by K.
so
T by K.
T
m
by
into
modulus of K.
f will remain as t. X plus c will remain as t, but then this k is there. Okay, Shriyani are absolutely right. This k is there. This is what will be divided, which you will divide t with. Okay, mod of k. Once you get mod of k, you divide that from t. Okay, so it's t by mod k. That will be your answer for this. Got this? Okay, so periodicity. I hope all of you are pretty decently well versed. Okay, so once you practice problems, you'll get better. But we'll move on to the next property now. This is the next one. So the next property is, suppose you have some fancy function like this, f of x equal to a of f1x plus b of f2x plus, not plus, plus or minus, it doesn't matter. Okay, plus c of f3x. Okay, let's just keep it here. So when you have more than that, you can relate it to what I'm teaching here. Okay, so for h of x to be periodic, okay, all right, you just need to check the graph of h of x. But if it's already given to you that f of 1 is periodic with period t1, f2 is periodic with period t2, and f3 is periodic with period t3. All right, what is the period of h? So if it's given that t1, t2, like f of 1, f of 2, f of 3, f1, f2, and f3 are periodic with period as t1, t2, t3, then h of x will also be periodic. But how do we check its periodicity? There's a condition. There's a condition. That's what I'm trying to teach you here. How do you check its periodicity? You find the LCM. Okay. T of h of x, you'll find the LCM of T1, T2, and T3. Got it? When you add two periodic functions, to find the sum, if that is periodic, to find the period of that, the sum, what you do is find their LCM of the individual periods. Got it? Okay. You have two functions here. Sin x, sin 2x. What will this period be? Sin x is 2 pi. Sin 2x will be 2 pi by 2. That will become pi. How do you find the period of sin x plus sin 2x? What do you do here?
LCM.
You take the LCM of 2 pi and pi. What's the LCM here?
Pi.
That's the HCF. HCF. Yeah, HCF.
2.
LCM will be 2 pi. All right. Lowest common multiple. Okay. Got this?
Yes, sir.
Right. So LCM will be 2 pi here. Okay. Now, the thing is, this LCM rule, where did it even come from? I'm expecting you to ask questions. I'm only asking myself the question. Where did this rule come from? It's an arbitrary rule. So it's not hard and fast. Okay. So in JEE questions, generally what happens is they'll take cases where LCM is not the answer. Not the period. So the thing is, what you do is you have an answer there. You just divide that by 2, check if it works. Okay. So to find the period, what you do is this, right? The thing is, if you get a multiple of t, then also it will be valid. But we need the smallest value of t here. Okay. So if it's 2 pi sin x plus 2 pi equal to sin x, we know this for all values of x. Okay. So we know that 2 pi is the period. If I write x plus 4 pi equal to sin x, this is also true, right? But then the minimum value was 2 pi, where it's true for all values of x. So that's why we took this. Okay. You following, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So then what you do in such a case is, suppose you got the period as 2 pi from finding the LCM. Okay, LCM gave you 2 pi. What you do is, you don't put the value into the option to check like this. You take half of the value, pi, and put that into the option to check if sin x plus pi equal to sin x. If that turns out true for all x, then 2 pi is not the period. Pi is the period. Understood? Okay, but this is not the case. Don't worry. All right. Guys, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, like for example, like I know tan x plus 2 pi will be tan x. Hello. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
So suppose you assume that period is 2 pi. Don't directly write period as 2 pi. What you do is, to cross check, you take t by 2. Okay, t by 2 will be pi, and then put it into this. Is it working? Then you
Yes,
get
sir.
tan x plus pi equal to tan x. This works. So then what do you do? So you're assuming that the period is pi now. Okay, you put t equal to pi by 2 into this now instead. So now you get tan x plus pi by 2 equal to tan x. And this is false. All right. So this is when you know you have to stop here. And t equal to pi will be the smallest value. That is the period. Got this? This is the easiest way to remember this. Okay. Did you understand how to deal with period here?
Yes,
Sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Anybody wants another explanation? Fine. Right. So if you want it, you can still ask. Okay. Now, so you got it right. It's either LCM or keep checking half the LCM also, just in case. Just in case. Okay. Got this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Keep checking half the LCM. Don't forget. Right. Now, we do a question or should we try something else? I'll give you this. LCM of 2 pi by 3, pi by 6, pi by 12. What will this be? I want to see if you know what LCM is. After teaching all this, I'm heading into what is LCM. Right. So, how do you find the LCM of this? If you had LCM of 2 pi and pi, what would it be?
2 pi.
2 pi. Okay. If you had LCM of 3, 6, and 12, what will it be?
12.
Exactly. 12. Okay. Now, how to find LCM of a bunch of fractions? What do you do? Here, how did you find it? You know that the 2 pi is the higher multiple of pi here amongst them. 12 is a multiple of 3, 12 is a multiple of 6 also, so we took 12. Right? That's what we did. But for fractions, how do we find the LCM? We find the LCM of numerator divided by HCF of denominator. Got this, guys? Don't forget this. LCM of a bunch of fractions. LCM of A by B, C by D, E by F, etc. will be equal to LCM of the numerators A, C, E, and so on, divided by HCF of the denominators B, D, F, and so on. You all following?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Got this, right? Okay. So in our case, what is the LCM of the numerators? 2 pi.
2 pi.
What is the HCF of the denominators?
3.
12.
3. Okay, it's not 12. It's not 12. 12, I need to confuse you. It's the LCM of the denominators. I am asking for the HCF of the denominators. Please notice this. I'm glad you guys made the mistake right now. All right. So now that the chance of you noticing it is higher. LCM of numerator divided by HCF of denominator is the LCM of this. Okay. Similarly, HCF, this is unnecessary right now, but still, HCF of a bunch of fractions will be what? Will be HCF of numerator divided by LCM of denominator. Okay. So in our question here, the LCM was 2 pi by 3. Got this? Is
Yes,
any
sir.
doubts here? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
So we are covering LCM and HCF. Okay. Next question. Sine root 2x will have a period t1. Okay, that's a very bad question here. I'll rephrase the question. Sine of root 2x plus sine of pi x. Okay, what's the period of this? I'll actually add one more term also just to make it fancy. X by 3. Right. So we'll apply most of the concepts that we learned here. I'm just adding a few constants here just to make it look fancier. That's all. Okay. So can you tell me the period of this function f of x? How do you find the period of this function f of x? What would you do? Guys, 2 sine of root 2x plus 3 sine of pi x minus sine of x by 3. How do you find the values here, guys? What do you do?
Sir, first find the
First find.
sir. Do you find the period of each?
Exactly. Very good. Okay, so this is f1, this is f2, this is my third function f3. Okay, so what is my period of f1? That will be
2 pi by
Root 2.
root 2.
root 2. So that will be what?
Root 2 pi.
2 pi.
Okay. T of f2 will be
2, sir. 2 pi by pi.
2 pi by pi, which becomes 2. Good. Now T3 will be, T of f3 will be
6 pi.
Now what do we do? What should we do next step?
LCM.
LCM.
LCM. Of what all terms?
Root 2 pi, 2 and 6 pi.
Okay, how do you find the LCM here? Yes, how do you find the LCM? Come on, try.
So do you take root 2 as the common factor?
We take root 2 as a common factor, and then it becomes root 2 into pi. This becomes root 2 into root 2, and then this becomes root 2 into 3 root 2 pi. Hmm?
Yes, sir.
And then, oh, you multiply what by root 2 now? What will be the LCM? Any idea? Look, guys, I'm purposely trying to confuse you. LCM of rational and irrational term, it's not possible. Okay, there will be no LCM. Suppose you have root 2 and 1. Can it have an LCM?
No, sir.
No, it can't. That it can't. All right. Because LCM means lowest common multiple. So generally the multiple is an integral value. That's what you noticed till now, right? If you have 3 pi and 6 pi, what is the LCM? 6 pi here. Why? Because you just simply multiply this by an integral value 2. Got this? Okay. So here, this irrational, whatever integral value you multiply with, you will get an irrational only. Which means the rational should be multiplied with the irrational value. So basically, the idea of LCM here itself is non-existent. Okay. So when you have a function as root 2 with period root 2 and another function with period 1, does it exist? Does a periodicity exist for this?
No,
The
sir.
function becomes non-periodic. Basically, this function, which look periodic, which actually look periodic, is actually non-periodic. Got it? All right. T does not exist. Got this, guys? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts here?
No, sir.
So, start with the question. F of x equal to sin x plus fractional part of x. Okay, find the period quickly. Guys, what is the period of sin x?
2 pi.
2 pi.
Wait, what's the period of fractional part of x?
1.
Okay, remember this, guys. Fractional part of x is a periodic function. It goes like this. All right, throughout. So the period here is from 0 to 1. The length is 1. Okay. Now, what do we do next? What do we need to find here?
LCM.
LCM.
LCM of
2
what
pi.
values?
2 pi and
2 by
1.
1. What is the value?
2 pi.
Guys,
2 pi.
it will not exist. It will not exist. 2 pi is irrational. All right. 2 pi is irrational, 1 is rational. I told you. LCM of rational and irrational, not possible. Okay. So basically, this is non-periodic. Got it? Guys, are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
Right. Look at the next problem. Tan 3x plus tan by 3. Tan 3x. Tan, what is the period for tan?
Pi.
Pi.
Pi. Tan 3x will be
Pi by 3.
pi by 3. Sin, the period will be 2 pi. Sin x by 3 will be
6 pi.
6 pi. Correct. Right. So, now what do we do?
LCM of pi by 3 and 6 pi.
Okay. How do you find the LCM of pi by 3 and 6 pi? How do you find that? Just treat this as 6 pi by 1. Okay, then you have two fractions here. What is the LCM of the numerator divided by LCM of the HCF of the denominator? Got it? All right. What is the LCM of the numerator? 6 pi.
Pi.
Pi and 6 pi is there. It will be 6 pi. What is the HCF of the denominator?
1.
1. So your answer will be 6 pi. That's it. Okay, so you're dealing with fractions here. You're dealing with the three different cases right now. Got it? Guys, following?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts here?
Yeah.
No, sir.
Okay, then please do this on your own. Next one. Mod of sin x plus mod of cos x. What happens here?
Sir, is it pi?
Pi.
Pi, sir.
So, mod sin x, you already know, it will be pi. Mod cos x, you already know, it will be pi. When we take both, what do? We find the LCM, and the LCM is also pi. Pi the answer? Pi the answer?
Same pi, sir.
So, we see that f of x plus pi will be equal to f of x. Alright. Guys, so I'll tell you one small trick here. Okay, one small trick. Whenever the function you have is an even function. You know what an even function is, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
F of minus x equal to f of x for all values of x. Okay, this is an even function. Odd function is f of minus x equal to minus of f of x for all x. All right, for all x in the domain. That way. Now, if this is an even function, this is where you check the LCM, like the final value, by 2. Okay, so when I put pi by 2 here, what happens? F of x plus pi by 2 equal to f of x. Let's try that. Let's try. What is f of x plus pi by 2? Is equal to sin of plus pi by 2 plus cos of x plus pi by 2. What is sin of x plus pi by 2?
Cos x.
All right. Cos of x here. Now, what is cos of x plus pi by 2? Minus of sin x, right? Guys,
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
it's minus sin x. Now, mod of minus sin x is nothing but mod sin x only, right? Okay, and this was nothing but f of x. And this is applicable for all values of x. So, is the period pi or pi by 2? Tell me that right now.
Pi by
Pi by
Pi
2.
by 2, not pi. You were expecting pi. You were going according to what I told you only. It was absolutely right what you did. Okay. Right. But the problem is there were values beyond that give this problem. Okay. If I put pi by 2, this modulus, that's the idea of even function. Because that plus or minus getting absorbed here, right, we get the same function again. All right. That's why pi by 2 works. When you put pi by 4, you know it won't work. You get sin of x plus pi by 4, cos of x plus pi by 4. All right. And then you will get some other thing when you expand it. There'll be denominator will have root 2 and fancy stuff like that will happen. And you won't get this equation satisfied. Okay, f of x plus pi by 4 equal to f of x will not happen. Okay, so I'm just leaving that step for you. And we'll move on to the next question, which was sine power 4x plus cos power 4x. What do we do here? Guys, do this question on your own. Come on. Apply whatever we learned. What is sine power 4x? What will the period be?
Pi.
Pi.
Pi. Cos power 4x will also be pi. Now what do you do next? What's the next step?
Find the LCM.
Find the LCM. Okay. LCM of pi and pi will be pi. What's the next step?
Check if any other than pi.
Okay. So before that, what you should notice first, I wanted was that to check if this function is odd or even. When it's odd, you don't need to check all this. Okay. Okay. Odd or even or neither. When it's even or neither, that time alone, just be a little careful. Okay. But even when it's neither, also you don't need to check most of the cases. It's only when it's even that you check. But just to be on the safe side, check for this and this, because the LCM is not a hard and fast rule. Anything can happen. All right. Now, what you do here is, we'll check for what? Check pi by 2. Okay. What happens here? F of x plus pi by 2 will be equal to sine power 4 x plus pi by 2 plus cos power 4 x plus pi by 2. Got it? What is cos of x plus pi by 2? Minus sine x. And that you raise it to 4, it will become sine power 4x. Sine of x plus pi by 2, cos x. Okay, you raise that to 4, cos power 4. Got this? Is any doubts here?
No, sir.
So you are getting f of x plus 2, x plus pi by 2 equal to f of x for all values of x. Right? Do we need to check for x plus pi by 4 here? Do the calculation in your mind, see that it's not necessary. That's the idea. Okay. Don't just look at the equation and decide to do it or not. Do the calculation in your mind and then decide whether it's worth putting it on paper or not. All right. So x plus pi by 4 is not really required here. Okay. All right. So if the option is there, then just quickly check. Put the option there directly. Right. Now, this is covered. Now we have something called composite functions. Okay. So this is like g of f of x, also written as g of f of x. Right? What's disappearing? Okay. Are you getting this? This is a composite function. So basically, x, there'll be some domain. A to B, some f is defined. Okay, so here you get f of x. Now the idea is, you take this f of x, give it as an input to the function g. Okay, from here you'll get g of f of x. Okay, when f of x is the input to this, you get g of f of x. When I say g of f of x, basically saying, you tell me the value of x. So this calculation will be done automatically, f of x. But then here directly we'll go to g of f of x. Right? That's how we define g of f of x. Got this? Guys, am I speaking too fast, or are you guys not following what is going on? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Right. Then please try this question. Basic question. F x equal to x square. G of x. Okay, f is defined from R to R. G is defined from R to R. G of x equal to 2x plus 1. Find f of g of x and g of f of x. All right. See if both are the same. Compare both. That's the idea. Find both and compare. Come on. Let's do this. Come on, guys. We have f of g of x and g of f of x. How do we find this? We look for higher order questions. Right?
Sir, for f of g of x, whatever is g of x, you substitute in f of x, sir.
So it's f of 2x plus 1. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
This will become 2x plus 1
Whole
whole
square.
square. So this is f of g of x. What about g of f of x?
2x square plus 1.
2x square plus 1.
So you write as g of f of
X
x,
square.
which is x square. This will become 2x square plus 1, and that's absolutely right. All right. So can you see that g of f of x and f of g of x need not be same? Okay. Just remember this. Okay. F of g and g of f need not be same. Don't expect them to be same. So to find f of g, and if you see that g of f is easier, doesn't mean you find g of f. Okay. So g is separately. All right. Now, this plus, sorry, and then x equal to minus 1 less than 0, 0 equal to 0, 1 x greater than 0. Find f of g of x. Just look for better quality questions, like tougher questions.
Sir, is it like f of x is equal to minus 1 when g of x less than 0, g of x equal to 0 when g of x is equal to 0, something like that?
Yes, 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 yes. That's a very valid definition. Yes, yes, yes. Good. Okay. So, guys, if you didn't understand what he said was write this as f of g of x. Right? So basically, this definition and this definition are parallel, right? So he just drew a parallel there and said this will be 1, 0, minus 1. Where instead of x, what is the input here? G of x. When g of x is less than 0, g of x is equal to 0, and g of x greater than 0. So far, it's correct. Yes. Can we get a more concise explanation, like concise version of f of g of x? What does that look like? But yes, Srivatsan, right? Who said this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is the way to go about it. The rest of you, did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my silent friends, did you understand? That
Yes,
understood.
sir.
What about the rest?
Yes, sir.
Understood, sir.
Okay. So now study g of x. What about g of x? Solve no. Do something.
Sir,
So I have another nice question for you. Yes, ask.
Sir, is g of x equal to 1?
Harish, please unmute yourself. G of x equal to 1. Is g of x
Yes,
equal to 1?
yes.
This is x minus g of x. Remember that x is equal to g of x plus fractional part of x. Do you remember this part?
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
do you remember this? So what's fractional part of x? X minus g of x. So g of x becomes 1 plus fractional part of x. Basically, 1 plus what? A
1.
value between 0 and 1. Okay. 1 plus some value
So,
between 0 and 1. So you know g of x is always greater than or equal to 1. Got this? Are you all following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, g of x is greater than or equal to 1. What does that mean?
F of g of x
This
equal
means
to
that
1.
f of g of x or f of g of x is equal to 1. Why? Because g of x cannot be equal to 0, cannot be less than 0. Because I got here that g of x is always greater than or equal to 1. So whenever this is the case, whenever g of x is greater than 0, I get 1. So since g of x is all anyway greater than 1, I will get the same value here. Okay. Did I clutter it too much or did you get the message here?
Got it, sir.
Got it, sir.
Got it, sir.
Got it? Did anyone say not exactly? I'll help you out if you want. Got it, sir, and not exactly kind of sounded similar when you guys were saying it at the same time. That's right.
Got it, sir.
Got it, sir. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'll give another question. I said no, better quality question. So, guys, you prepared to see if we understood the concept or not? Okay. X 2 square minus 1 less than 0. 4 minus x square greater than or equal to 0. Then g of x equal to plus 1 less than 0. 2 minus x greater than or equal to 0. Why did I draw this thing here? Okay, anyway, you have to find g of f of x. Find g of f of x. How will that function be defined? All right. How will you define g of f of x? In terms of x. Okay, not in terms of f of x alone, in terms of x. That's what we're trying to find. Okay.
G of f of x equal to x square
Where
if x is less than 0.
if x is less than 0. It's partially true what you said. Okay, it is less than 0 when x is between 0 and 1. Sorry, 0 and minus 1. Okay, that's the answer I have here. That's what I'm telling you. All right, not because I did some mental calculation or anything. Okay, so how do we get to? So that is only part of the answer. There are many parts to this answer. When x is between this value and that value, it will be like this. When x is between this value and that value, g of f of x will be like this. So there will be many parts. How do we break it down into these parts? That is what we learn here in this question. So look at this. Let's look at f of x first. We'll try to draw a graph for f of x because we're trying to study this topic. Right. So when x is less than 0, you have x square minus 1. We know that x square goes like this, right? Right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. X square goes like this. X square minus 1 will be 1 unit below. Okay. Right. This is x square minus 1. Now, what about, oh my god, what did I do here? One second, guys. Okay, we have x square minus 1 whenever x is less than or equal to 0, right? So, and then 4 minus x square. So, you know, minus x square goes like this. Okay, guys? So, 4 minus x square is basically adding 4 to it. All right. So, I will get 4 minus x square like this. Guys, is this much clear? Okay,
Yes.
but to draw the graph, it means when x is, sorry, here. When x is less than 0, it will be x square minus 1. Okay. When x is less than 0, it will be x square minus 1. So when x is less than 0, I won't include this point. The remaining will be square minus 1. When x is greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, so this point will definitely be included. Okay. When x is greater than or equal to 0, what happens? This will be 4 minus x square. I'm looking at g of x. Okay, so this will be 4 minus x square. So the white parts, I can simply delete. Got it? This will be the graph of my equation. Are you following? I
Yes,
enjoy
sir.
drawing like that. Yeah. Did you get this? What is happening here? This is how
Yes,
f of
sir.
x behaves. Yeah, tell me. No doubts? Okay, fine. All right, so this is how f of x behaves. We found out how f of x behaves. I hope there are no doubts. If there are any doubts, please ask now. If there's anything that you find, oh my God, how did you get this? How did you get that? Try to do it on your own in your mind, quickly. Come on. You're getting this, right? Square minus 1, 4 minus x square. People,
Yes, I got it.
right? Okay. So g of f of x equal to what? That is what we actually need to find. So I will rewrite the definition for g. Okay. G of f of x. So basically, to find g of f of x, I replace x with f of x here. It becomes f of x plus 1 when f of x is less than 0 and 2 minus f of x when f of x is greater than or equal to 0. This will be the definition of g of f of x. Okay. So why am I writing it this way? Because I have to find out how many splittings have to be done. Basically, when f of x is less than 0. Where is f of x less than 0? We have to find those values of x. Okay. All right. Where f of x will be less than 0, greater than 0, and so on. All right. So this part was what? X square minus 1. This part was 4 minus x square. Okay, guys. So we'll be studying f of x first and then using it into this. All right. So we have the graph of f of x here. We're trying to find what are we trying to find here? Where is f of x greater than 0? Where is f of x less than or equal to 0? Okay, got it? Sorry, greater than or equal to 0 and less than 0. Guys, any doubts here? Any doubts here? Please ask. If this gets a little confusing. I know I am speaking fast. That's why.
No, sir.
But I am trying to make up for it by repeating the same points again and again. Right. I do speak fast. I know that, but I do repeat adequately to compensate. Right. So when f of x is less than 0, what happens? So here f of x becomes less than 0 in the first branch and in the second branch also. Okay. So let's look at the first branch. First branch is x square minus 1. When is this equal to 0? When x is equal to plus or minus 1. We are looking only at x equal to minus 1 because we're trying to find this value here. Okay, got it? Guys, got this? We're looking for this value, x is equal to plus or minus 1 from this. But then we'll only take x equal to minus 1 because this is where I'm looking at. Any doubts here?
No, sir.
Okay, so here I can say that f of x is greater than or equal to 0 when x is what? Less than or equal to minus 1. Can I not say that from this? I can also say that f of x is less than 0 when x is between, sorry, minus 1 not included, to 0, and 0 is not included here because this point was not taken into consideration. Okay. Guys, any doubts with the first branch here? This is the first branch. Any doubts here? Shall we move on to the second branch? Second branch is 4 minus x square. When is that equal to 0? We are checking when is it greater than 0, when is it less than 0. So to find this point, when it's equal to 0, I substitute x square equal to 0 sorry, 4 minus x square equal to 0. And then I get x square equal to 4, x equal to plus or minus 2, which means x is equal to plus 2 here because this is the point I'm looking for. Guys, are you getting the logic here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it overhead transmission or is it catchable?
Catchable, sir.
Catchable.
Okay. Okay, lovely, lovely. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for responding. Okay, I'm happy. Now, x is equal to 2 here. All right. So, here, f of x, what can you say? F of x will be greater than or equal to 0 when x is, why am I writing it again and again? X is less than or equal to 1 or when x is between 0 and plus 2. Okay, so in these cases, f of x will be greater than or equal to 0. When will f of x be less than or equal to 0? When x between minus 1 and 0, and x is between, I won't include the point 2 because at that point it will be 0 and 0 is included for this case. Okay, less than, greater than or equal to 0. So 2 is not included, 2 till infinity. Okay, so this is what I take into this equation. All right. Are you following? So the input towards towards G will be f of x. Okay, you can see here G of f of x. All right, G of f of x is there. So the input towards that is f of x. When what you're giving into G is f, not x. F is taking x, that we dealt with separately. We are looking at f. So that is why we are doing all this. All right. So now G of f of x will be f of x plus 1 when f of x is less than 0. Okay. Now, when is f of x less than 0? Okay, I'll just rewrite this so that I can explain easier. That's all. Right. X greater than or equal to 0. All right. Guys, what happens here? When is f of x less than 0? F of x is less than 0 from these two parts, minus 1 comma 0 and what? 2 to infinity. Okay. In both these parts, f of x will be less than 0. Okay. So here it is f of x plus 1. Between minus 1 to 0, what is f of x? That's why we need to go to the graph. Between minus 1 to 0, f of x is x square minus 1. Okay. Between minus 1 comma 0, this will be x square minus 1. But then there's this plus 1 here, and they will cancel out. You will get x square. Someone got this, right? It is x square between minus 1 and 0.
Yes, sir.
You were right for that part. Okay. Next. Between 2 and infinity, what is the value? It will be 4 minus x square, f of x. Okay. So here it will be 4 minus x square plus 1. Okay. We'll deal with that later. Next. Next is when f of x is greater than or equal to 0. When is f of x greater than or equal to 0? These two cases. Between 0 and 2. Between 0 and 2. And less than minus 1. Less than or equal to minus 1. Right. X is less than or equal to minus 1. Okay. Between 0 and 2, what will it be? 2 minus f of x. 2 minus f of x. Okay. So 2 minus f of x. Between 0 and 2, 0 and 2, this will be 4 minus x square. So here, since it's 2 minus f of x, this will be 2 minus 4 minus x square. Here, when x is less than or equal to minus 1, from the graph, you have this is nothing but x square minus 1. 2 minus x square minus 1. So now, g of f of x can be neatly written as, right, so I'll take the lowest values first, x less than or equal to minus 1. Okay, less than or equal to minus 1. I get what? I get this one here. 2 minus 1 is 1, minus x square is 1 minus x square. Next, between minus 1 and 0, okay, x between minus 1 and 0, I get x square. Now, x is between 0 and 2. What do I get? 2 minus 4 is minus 2. And then I get x square here. It becomes x square minus 2. And then x greater than equal to, sorry, x greater than 2. X greater than 2. What happens in this case, which will be 5 minus x square. And this will be your final answer. Guys, did you get what we did here? Were you able to note it down on time and make sense out of it?
So for the first case will be 3 minus x square.
3 minus x square. For the first case is x less than or equal to minus 1. So that will be x. Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you. That will be 3 minus x square. Correct. Because it's 2 minus x square minus 1. Correct. Thank you, Siddharth. That's correct. So you get 3 minus x square. That's the first part. If you had written this would have been the wrong answer. 3 minus x square is the right part, right for the first one. Okay. Let me just cross check with the final answer here. I haven't written any final answer. Great. Okay. So, all right. So this seems correct. 1 is 5 minus x square minus 2, x square. And there is 2 minus, yeah, correct. But did you get the idea here? We studied f of x. Okay, we studied that properly. We even drew the graph. Because we noticed this separation for g of f of x. F of x is less than 0, f of x greater than or equal to 0. This is the split that made the difference. Okay. Are you getting this? This method might seem long because of how I solved it. But once you start solving similar problems, start making g of f of x and start plotting them on Desmos.com. You know what Desmos is? Or org, I'm not sure. .com or .org, I'm not sure, but Desmos, that's one website. Do you know what it does?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. It's nothing. Like, it just helps you draw a graph of anything you want. So you put y equal to sin x, you see y equal to sin x around there. On top of that, you can put y equal to cos x, you can see y equal to cos x. So you can plot anything you want there. Okay, however complicated it is. You can zoom in and zoom out. It's a very nice website to plot graphs. Okay, got this? So what I want you to do is to define some f of x and g of x. And plot the graphs and just verify what you're getting here and what you're getting there. Are they the same? Can you do that as a homework?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm guessing a lot of you must have started learning integration, right? In school.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For you guys, I have a special advice. Okay. On YouTube. You guys watch YouTube, right? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Like, in spite of your tight schedule, you get time to manage to watch YouTube, right?
Yes, sir.
Hope you got the sarcasm here. But use it for something productive. Okay. YouTube is actually very useful. Very useful to if you want to be productive also. Okay. Not just so you have to be conscious enough to move away from those other kind of videos, or like which are like TikTok videos, waste of time. All of that is there. Watch it for not more than 5 minutes. Okay. But use YouTube well. There is, you know, of this college called MIT, right? Massachusetts.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. So they have something called an integration bee. You heard of a spelling bee? Just like that, they have an integration bee. So these people just integrate problems. Just integrate fast. And that should give you a good inspiration. Okay, I can also do this. All
Sir, I
right.
got it in my recommended school.
Already saw this, sir.
Oh, okay. Oh, lovely. Even I had it recommended. I saw it. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Sir, even I saw one.
All right. So start watching them, see the techniques they use, because the integration those people do, right? They're actually simple integration for us Indians. Okay. That's the fact. Like, they're not that complicated integrations. Like, it's just done in MIT. You'll be like, wow, they are doing it. They are the smartest people in the world. For us, right? JEE syllabus is such that you need to be at least that good to do well. All right, for JEE syllabus. So for integration alone, I'm just talking about the integration part. Like, the techniques taught are so vast that we actually, the steps they use are our first options. This is what we normally do first itself. Okay. So we would be suggesting them steps. We will reach that stage, don't worry. But right now, start watching and enjoying it. All right, integration B. When you're starting to learn integration to develop a flow, to start practicing more, to see which are the formulas they use most, things like that, you can start watching this. All right. But anyway, that aside, what's the time right now? 20, like 10 minutes. Composite function, we've covered. Can we? Hey, we discussed inverse function, right?
Yes, sir.
Is okay. All right. Okay. In this above question, g of f of x, I'll just modify this question. I'm not planning on teaching much more right now. You just practice a few questions. Okay. Find alpha in this above question if g of f of x that we just found equal to alpha has 4 solutions. This is how JEE advanced questions will be given. They'll just play with language and just confuse you. Oh my God, what is going on? Okay. So in this above equation, you've written g of f of x in your notes, right? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then, yeah, we start from here. Find alpha if this has 4 solutions. How would you solve this? The function's question only. G of x, g of f equal to alpha has 4 solutions. How would you find alpha? What do you do here? Means when you get such complicated looking questions, right? Does this look complicated enough to you? Or does it look easy or complicated? Tell me that, no? Like easy will be 1, very complicated will be 10. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Srivatsan, tell me what does this question look like?
6, 7.
6. Okay, just tell me what it looks like. What do you feel it looks like? That's all I'm saying. Like,
First one, 6,
Siddharth,
7.
6 or 7. Okay, Siddharth, what about you?
8, sir.
8. Okay, Rahul, you? No problem. 8 is also fine. Rahul. Rahul figured a way to put himself on mute. Huh? Okay, Sri Harini.
Sir, 7 to 8.
Looks like a 7 to 8. Sanjana, what about you?
8, sir.
8. Harish?
7, sir.
7. Okay, guys. All clustered values. Okay, 7 to 8. Okay, so once you have the definition of g of f of x, what is the definition? Can you tell me? When x is less than or equal to -1, it will be 3 minus x square, right? X between
Yes,
0 to
sir.
1, what will it be? X square. And then from 1 to 3, what is it?
0 to 2.
0 to 2. Okay, sorry. -1 to 0. Okay. And then 0 to 2 will be -5 minus x square, other is x square minus 2. I forgot. Yes, thanks for the cooperation. Again, thank me for the sarcasm. Now, all right. So we have f of x equal to like this. All right. So what we do here is nothing. We have this definition. We should be grateful we have the definition. Okay. So with that, I'll try to draw the graph. Okay. Now, 3 minus x square. I know minus x square goes like this. 3 minus x square will be 3 units below, which will be like this. And then this is where x is less than or equal to -1. Okay. So this will be here.
Sir,
Now, between
3 units above.
Oh, yeah. I just got confused with the 3 minus x square. Oh my God. Thank you for noticing. Thank you, Shriyani. Right. So this will be 3 minus x square, which will become 0 at 3. Okay. So, okay. So this is minus 1. Suppose this is minus 1. So here it will go like this. Or this. Okay. It will be 3 minus x square. Now it will be x square from 0 to minus 1. All right. Now it will be x square minus 2 between 0 to 2. So I'll bring this x square minus x square below to x square minus 2. Okay. Now there'll be 5 minus x square. So this thing is that you add 5 to it, you get something enveloping like this. Okay, 5 minus x square beyond 2. Wait, which one was this? Something x square. X square minus 2, yeah. So the x square minus 2, this is 5 minus x square, and so on. All right. Will be 2, whatever. So from, you have to plot it now. From minus 1 onwards, it will be 3 minus x square. Okay. 3 minus x square minus 1 onwards, it will go like this. From 0 to minus 1, it will be x square. Okay. X square. Then minus 1 onwards, it will be 3 minus x square. So it will actually cross this and go till here. And 3 minus x square at minus 1 will be root 2, will be 4. And here will be 1. So 3 minus x square will not come like this actually, guys. Yeah. 3 minus x square. It goes like this. At 1, what will happen? At minus 1, it will become 2. The value will be 2. X square at 1 will be 1 here. Okay. So from 0, it goes till 1 only. And this one will go till the value 2. So this will be 1. This will be 2. Okay, that's the idea here. Got it? This is how the graph will be on this side. Now, on this side, greater than 1, greater than 0, up till 2 will be x square minus 2. When I put the value 2 here, it goes up to the value 2. Okay, you can see here, it goes up to the value 2 here. Sorry. Wrong graph. Sir is going haywire right now. Okay, x square minus 2. So when you put the value there, you get the value of, okay, this. Now, 5 minus x square is there. Rahul, you're back, huh? Okay, 5 minus x square is there. So 5 minus x square, what happens here? It's this graph. So it starts from what? 1. We put x equal to 2 here. It starts from 1 here, 1 not included, and then it goes down after that. So this is the graph of the equation. Got it? This is f of g of x. What is the question they asked? What is the question asked, guys?
Find alpha if g of f of x equal to alpha has four
Sorry.
solutions.
G of f of x. Correct. G of f of x should be equal to alpha. Has 4 solutions. Now, I have the graph of y equal to g of f of x. Now, if I have a graph of y equal to alpha, what will I do? I'll find out how many points they intersect, right? Y equal to alpha is basically y equal to constant. That is basically a line parallel to the x-axis. Got it? Now I shift that line anywhere I want and check how many solutions it will have. Right now, how many solutions does this line give? How many solutions, guys?
2.
2 solutions. So now I shift it up a little bit. How many solutions does this give?
3.
3. This, how many solutions does it give?
4.
4. When I cross 1, how many solutions does it give?
3.
Okay, 3 solutions. When I cross 2, I get, okay, this just can't, no, this doesn't continue. When I cross 2, I get no solutions, I guess. Right? So, this is the graph. Okay. Where will we get 2 solutions? Between 4 solutions between 0 and 1. Got it? Are you following, guys?
Yes, sir.
So x square has 1 included, and so between 0 and 1, this point is included. This point is not included. So I just draw a circle there so that this point is not included. Point 2 will be 0 to 2. 0 to 2, what is the definition here? Again, 0 to 2, 2 is included. Okay. So 2 is included means 0 to 2, this point is definitely included. So we need how many solutions? 4.
4.
So this point 0 to 1 will be included. This point is not included because it's included. Okay. Then we need 4 solutions. So at 1, will we get 4 solutions? We get 1, we get 2, we get 3, but this point is not included. At 0, do we get 4 solutions? Between 1 and 0, we know we get 4 solutions. Okay. That's the assumption we're going with. Now, because whatever line I put here will have 1, 2, 3, 4 intersection points. Now at 0, that's why we're confused. There's 1, there is 2, there is 3, and there are 4 solutions. Okay. So it goes from 0 to 1. Got it? Got this question, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Guys,
sir.
what we solved right now was a JEE advanced level question. Okay. JEE advanced level question, not even means. All right. So you have to go into the nitty-gritty of things. Draw the graph, see what it is, where does it lie? Like you have to think out of the box. All right. So this is a basic line of attack, like how you can approach this question. Like you have to go basic. Okay. So JEE advanced question doesn't use advanced concepts. They use simple concepts in an advanced manner. It's the approach that counts. It's not the concept. The concept you will be clear by the end of the year. The approach is what I want you to be clear with. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
You got the solution, you got how we solved it, you got how we got till 0, 1. You get all this, guys? Any doubts here that you have?
No, sir.
No? Okay, then. We'll be doing inverse functions, and then we'll be starting trigonometry, and then moving back into inverse trigonometric functions. Right? Okay. If not that, we can start with calculus. What would you prefer?
Trigonometry. Trigonometry.
Trigonometry?
Yes.
Okay, so then, yeah, we'll start off with trigonometry in the next class. Okay. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care. Okay, guys. If you have
Thank
any
you,
doubts,
sir.
please ask. Thank you.